All right, today we're putting on our detective hats and diving into some geology. We are on the hunt for a really violent, hidden chapter in Earth's history. This is a story about floods so massive they reshaped entire continents. And the clues? Well, they're not in any history book, they're carved into the very rock and soil right under our feet.
So let's set the scene. Think of the Earth as a giant crime scene. It's just littered with these clues that, frankly, don't make any sense. We see these landscapes that look almost alien, with features so bizarre they seem to completely defy the slow, steady geological processes we're all used to seeing today.
And this gets us to the central mystery of it all. Just try to imagine a force so ridiculously powerful it could carve out a massive canyon. Not over millions of years, mind you, but in a matter of days. What in the world could possibly do that? Let's take a look at the evidence.
Okay, first piece of evidence. Geologists find these colossal, bone-dry waterfalls. You can see they were once these thunderous, massive cataracts of water. And get this, some of them, like a place called Dry Falls in Washington State, are 5 times wider than Niagara Falls. But here's the kicker. There's no major river there now. So where did all that water go?
Then you've got this, ripples. And I'm not talking about the little ones you see in a stream bed. We're talking about giant ripples that are etched into the landscape itself. Some of them are the size of large buildings, standing up to 15 meters tall. You have to ask yourself, what kind of current is strong enough to create waves in solid ground? And for our final clue, it's a big one, literally. We're talking about boulders, some weighing thousands of tons, that have been tossed across hundreds of kilometers. They're just left stranded on hilltops, miles and miles away from where they started. How on earth did they get there? Well, all of these bizarre clues, they all point to one culprit. A force of nature so extreme that, for a long time, geologists just dismissed it as impossible. The answer? Megafloods.
So, what exactly is a megaflood? Let's be really clear. This is not just a big flood. It is a sudden, absolutely catastrophic release of water. We're talking about a flow rate hundreds of times greater than any river on Earth today. It's a completely different scale of event. You know, to really put this into perspective, just think of the most powerful river flood you can imagine. A megaflood's volume and its raw erosive power would make that look like a trickle from a garden hose. The sheer force is almost unimaginable.
Okay, so we've identified our prime suspect. Now it's time to do some real forensic geology. Let's go in and examine the specific fingerprints these megafloods left behind, evidence that is etched permanently right into the Earth's crust.
Our first major piece of evidence is maybe the most famous of all, a place called the channeled Scablands, which is in Washington State in the US. Now, this is not a landscape that was formed over millennia. The Scablands are the result of pure, unadulterated violence. The floodwaters carved these deep channels, they're called coulees, in just a matter of weeks. The force was so immense that it ripped solid basalt bedrock away as if it were just loose soil, and it even sculpted these streamlined, teardrop-shaped islands out of solid rock.
Just to help you wrap your head around the scale, look at Dry Falls again. During these floods, it was a waterfall nearly 5 times wider than today's Niagara Falls. Just try to picture that, an unbelievable wall of water plunging over a cliff that wide.
Let's move on to our next clue. This one tells us a lot about the incredible speed and the turbulence of this water. Giant current ripples.
And again, it all comes down to scale. The little ripples you see on a sandy riverbed might be a few centimeters high, but the ripples left behind by these megafloods, like the ones in Montana's Camas Prairie, can be up to 15 meters tall. That's as high as a 5-story building, and they're made of gravel and boulders. This tells geologists that the water was moving with just incredible velocity. And that incredible velocity brings us to our third clue, which really demonstrates the sheer muscle of these floods. Those giant boulders, which are also known as erratics.
So how does a flood move a boulder the size of a house? Well, it cheats. The water wasn't just rolling them along the bottom. No way. What happened was, these huge boulders were frozen into massive icebergs that broke off from the glaciers. The floodwaters then acted like a giant conveyor belt, just carrying these icebergs for hundreds of kilometers. When the icebergs finally started to melt, they just dropped their rocky cargo, leaving them stranded in the most bizarre places, like on top of hills in Oregon's Willamette Valley.
So we've seen the evidence, right? The fingerprints of the crime are everywhere. But what pulled the trigger? Where in the world did all of this water even come from? Let's look at the mechanism that unleashed this icy ocean.
The trigger was actually a pretty simple but devastating process. During the last ice age, a massive glacier slid down and acted like a huge dam blocking up a river. All that meltwater started backing up behind it, forming this enormous lake. We call it Glacial Lake Missoula. And eventually, the pressure just became too much. The ice dam didn't just leak, it failed. Catastrophically. The whole thing burst, releasing the entire lake in a matter of days.
And how much water are we talking about here? A single flood from Lake Missoula released 2,500 cubic kilometers of water. That is an absolutely mind-boggling volume. It's enough water to completely empty Lake Ontario in just a few days. And the craziest part is, this didn't just happen once, it happened dozens of times.
So look, this all happened thousands of years ago. Why does it matter now? Well, because these ancient scars reveal a profound truth about our planet. It has a capacity for violence that we rarely, if ever, get to witness.
By studying these events, scientists can actually reconstruct ancient climate shifts. It helps us understand the physics of what happens when massive ice sheets, like the ones in Greenland and Antarctica today, start to collapse. And maybe most importantly, these floods show us that Earth's history isn't just a simple story of slow, gradual change. It's punctuated by these moments of sudden, absolutely catastrophic transformation.
And that really leaves us with a pretty profound thought, doesn't it? We experience the Earth as this stable, predictable home. But the geological clues all around us prove that slow and steady is only one chapter of the story. The planet's history is also written in water and fire and fury, and it's a powerful reminder that its capacity for abrupt, massive change isn't just a thing of the past. It's a fundamental part of its character.